I have a Mind's Eye customer, Shannon, with us from Lake Tahoe, right?
Yep,
Live Tahoe. And wanted to drop in and first see how your day's going. How's your day?
it's going good.
Yeah,
It's an on day, so
it's an on day,
yeah.
right on, right on. It's a right on day, and beautiful day it looks like in Tahoe. That's where I live too. But I am in British Columbia right now in Whistler. So really wanted to talk to you about your experience with Mind's Eye, your routine, journey, protocol, all kind of, words that we use interchangeably, what what the pre Shannon was before taking Mind's Eye, if you had intentions of using microdosing to alleviate any conditions or ailments or things you may be working through in the grand human experience, and how that's working out for you, and any of like any real like revelations, discoveries, deep introspections, shifts in your perspective, anything that really like you've noticed through that time. And if you have like an idea of like the linear time of where when you started and where you're at now. So without
Yeah.
further ado, everybody, this is Shannon.
So, I mean, to go like all the way back to the beginning, mushrooms have always been something that has been close to me. Um, I've been using mushrooms, taking them like in a fun way for probably 15 years. But it wasn't until probably 10 years ago where I realized that the mushrooms actually really helped me in a way that, like, through depression and anxiety and through my mental health. Um, so when you started, but it was, I would take them like more of a macro dose, right? So I didn't understand the microdosing aspect of it. So then when you actually started the Mind's Eye company, which I don't know when that was it like 3 years ago?
Well, we've had Medicine Box going for like 6 years, through
Right.
the medical cannabis, world, the legal cannabis world.
Which I've
And
used a lot of those products as well.
yeah,
And they're
so
all amazing.
yeah, cool. And Mind's Eye by Medicine Box, just kind of a sub brand of Medicine Box, started last November. So not it hasn't even been
Oh,
a year. Yeah.
okay.
So
All right. So yeah, as soon as because I'm close with Ambrit, so as soon as you dropped that, I was probably one of the first customers. And I've been taking them regularly since. I love the capsules. It's such a different experience from me just trying to like pick out a little mushroom and eat it because you can sometimes overdo it that way. So I'm someone who has had a long history of depression, and I have autoimmune and anxiety, lots of those things. But I'm also someone who's very natural minded, and was uh, I never really wanted to go the like SSRI or that kind of route. I've always wanted to do it on my own because I've had a very deep intuitive nudge that I could, with other types of plant medicine. So mushrooms, psilocybin, that's one that has really helped me. So since I've started um, taking the Mind's Eye, I do notice I am much happier. I'm much clearer. The world it's almost like it's crisper, like um, more vibrant. And I'm just more present, I guess, in the moment. So as for profession, I'm a Reiki master, and I do work with clients as like a coaching uh, kind of aspect, but I also nanny. And so being with children is something that teaches you to really be in the present moment. And I notice on my days, on my on days, and I'm way more present and way more fun, way more creative, way more crafty. We get outside a lot, do a lot of hiking. And so with over the last year of taking Mind's Eye, I've gone through, months of taking it and then stepping away from it for a month and then coming back to it. And so I really do notice, when I am on protocol, when I'm journaling, when I'm really intentionally taking my capsules each morning, which is sitting down with the capsules, making that intention for the day, whatever it is, I want to be present. I want to have more joy. I want to be creative. I want to have focus, or whatever it is for that day. It's different every day. It's such a switch in how my day goes, and just, way more present, way more joyful, really noticing my emotions as they come up. So if I do have like a moment of anxiety, I can sit and be like, okay, where is this coming from? What does it feel like? Where is it in my body? And then I have a process of going through it, of giving it, a shape, a color, giving it detail, so I can really lock down like where it is and what it is, so I can really work through it and move through it. And so the mushrooms and the Mind's Eye medicine, because it's mixed with other functional mushrooms, right? So it makes a world of a difference in my day. And yeah, I'm definitely one of your biggest fans, and I love it. And I shared
I
it with tons and tons of friends and tons of people, and I get the same feedback from all of them. So
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing it. Hence why the product's named Mind's Eye Introspection, because it sounds like you learned how to go introspective. And if anyone listens to this, I would, maybe take some tactics here that Shannon uses for befriending your anxiety, right? Like giving it a name, giving it a shape, a color, figuring out um, where it's coming from, like in your body, and going further and further and further, or and Inspector Gadget with the magnifying glass and saying, what is this? Why is this? Like, and then being able to keep going internally and understand things, more about yourself, right? To bring that self-awareness. And another thing that I heard was you're way more uh, present with yourself and able to be in the present moment, working with, being a Reiki master, you really have to be in the present moment with a client, and it's very energetic. And being a nanny for children, you're forced to be in the moment and pay attention, right? And paying attention to what's happening, or what's happening within you. And so what does I think being in the moment or being more present means a myriad of different things for many different people. So I'd love to love to hear what, like, being in the moment means for you, being present, what that means to you, and how you can, if there's a way you can correlate that with the medicine, really. Like, as I think, and I'll share with how I would consult someone, is that it dampens out the noise. I mean, anxiety is just us reconstructing the past experiences, right? And, like, creating the outcomes that we want in the future, and it takes us away from the grand present moment. So with the medicine, the Mind's Eye, I just really attribute it to, it like dampens out all of that noise, which almost just forces us in a positive way to just be in the present moment, even if there is those little annoyances or grievances or neurosis that comes up. We just are in the full acceptance and allowance of, like, whatever's happening. happening without trying to, make it a thing, right? It's just like it is. This is just it right now. So I would love to hear how you envision or foresee your present moment.
Yeah, so well, the first thing that comes to mind is like, our phones and how we constantly have this thing with us that can take us to many different worlds, to Instagram, Facebook, games, work, emails, all of it. And so it's something that's constantly pulling us out of just being and with ourselves and with who we are, or with nature, our pets or animals or plants or whatever it is. And it's always in your pocket. So you're always reaching for it or grabbing for it, and it's pulling you out of that. So, and with children, it's so easy to be like, okay, they're playing, like I can get all these other things done, instead of being like, let me sit down and play with them, and like, let's be present and let's learn together and just fully be immersed in that present moment, and not be thinking about, oh, I saw that email come through, I should respond to it as soon as I can, like, and just waiting for that time to like be able to look away and grab your phone and respond to that email. Or um, so with the mushrooms, it's like I actually want to be in that moment with the kids that I'm with, or when I'm at home with my husband or my pets, I'm just like, I just want to be right here, like have a conversation or play fetch, or play with the cat and make her do funny things and laugh, and just like really enjoy that moment and not be worried about what you have to do later, or what someone said today, or what's going on in the outer world, which there's always something. So there's always something else to worry about. But the psilocybin and the mind's eye, it really just makes me want to be and enjoy this life that I have, because you can spend every moment of every day worrying about what's going on around you, and of course wanting to help and make things better, but really, like, the most you can do is work on yourself and really get to know yourself on a deeper level. And that involves bringing that joy into your life and being a happier, more uh just, I don't know what the word I'm thinking of, but just being able to be that person that's truly you, your highest aligned self, is going to be the best thing you can do for anyone else on the planet, because then you're taking aligned action for from your highest self. So you're doing what you're meant to be doing on this earth, instead of like frantically running around and trying to, donate here and do that and do this and do that. And then at the end of the day, you're like, what did I actually get done? Now I'm stressed. I have anxiety. I can't sleep. And
The
yeah.
busy body frantic activity versus the mindful joyful contemplation is what you're describing,
Right. Yeah.
right? And that's like very you can't really you can't quantify that, right? That's more of like an experience with
Mhm.
an experience. And that's the beautiful thing about um self-reflection and mindful awareness, and that like joyful, I call it joyful contemplation or joyful embodiment, right, of the present moment, is like the tasks. Like, cool, you can run around and do all those things, right?
Mhm.
But do they have to be things that you're checking off the list to have a sense of accomplishment? Like, oh, I got my checklist done today, so I'm accomplished. But did I really do anything? All that's doing is like giving me this false sense of like I was productive, instead of
Mhm.
switching it to, you could do the same things or tasks, but they're not really things that you're doing. They're just like, I get to do these things, right?
Yes.
I get to positively like um express myself while I'm answering an email, or
Mhm.
walking in nature, playing with the children. I love that response. Is like, there's a lot of parents that use this product, and hopefully they listen to your reflection there, is like, let's, instead of like keeping the kids busy so I can go be frantic and be busy myself, what if I just like enjoyed the moment with the child and played with them and had that like that joyful, fun that is life. And
Mhm.
um those
Well,
are
it's
all
even
solid reflections. Yeah.
well, it's even like when you go to the grocery store or the mailbox and you have all these things you have to do, but can you put your phone down and go into the mailbox and say hi to people and ask them how their day's going and really just like be there and be with what you're doing, being at the grocery store instead of like scrolling through your phone while you're walking down the aisle. Like, can you like look up and smile at the little kids that are running around? And can you just like really notice what's happening around you and like begin to understand people in a different way?
Yeah, and that like the feeling of interconnectedness too. And
Mhm.
I mean, being here where I'm at, and I mean anywhere really, you look around, restaurants, cafes, outside of the village here in Whistler where people are mountain biking, and it's just, people are just in their phone, right? And making that positive effort to put the phone down, or like you said, treat the postal worker, the barista, the grocery store clerk, the gas station attendant, all the people that really we're connected with, but it's so easy for us to overlook that.
Mhm.
The garbage man, like I love going out in the morning and being like, yo, what's up? Like, don't worry, I got this, I'll throw the garbage in. It's like they're not people that are serving us. They're actually, we're all interconnected,
Mhm.
outwardly. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of psychedelics in general. But when that, it's like this innate knowing, we know this, but we take it for granted. But when it clicks, it's like, wow, like, yeah, I'm gonna go in and say hi to Nellie, my postal worker. What's up, Nellie? Like, how you doing? And like, and we need more of that, more of that, more of that, more of that, because the opposite side of that coin, that's definitely, they're attached on the same coin, right? Interconnectedness and then disconnectedness. It's like, however you want to flip it, you can flip it. And which side do you want to be on? And uh, we live in a world that is just, we're somewhat conditioned now to be disconnected because we're tethered to the technology and the digital onslaught of media and all of that. So those are all really, really amazing, what I call reflections, micro reflections, I call them. So let's finish off with, what does, one thing we say at Medicine Box is that everybody and every body is different, and there's no right way or wrong way to do anything, especially when you're taking a journey or you're in this transformational work on yourself and revealing more about yourself. Uh, and the word protocol is like interchangeable with routine or ritual, or I think of it as a journey, because life is a journey, right? Like, you're in your car right now, you're journeying somewhere, right? And you're journeying with me in conversation. So what does like a typical um program work for you? Like, are you on like 1 day on, 2 days off, day on, day off, 3 on, 4 off, or you just random? Like, I know you notice you said like it's intentional for you. Like, did you discover that it's intentional for you first, or did you make it intentional like right off the bat? Like, let's hear what your program is.
So when I first started taking the mind's eye, it was definitely a random, like, whatever, just, oh, I'll take it today or not. I didn't really know, it's been a journey figuring it out. And I actually worked with Amber about 2 months ago, which really helped me a ton because just having that I don't know, just like having the protocol and having my journal and knowing that someone was going to be checking in with me and asking me how it was going and all that. So I would say 2 months ago is when I really started taking them by protocol and with deep intention each day. Um, and so I've played with a lot of different protocols: 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off, 5 days on, two days off. So right now I'm on a 2 days on, 2 days off. And that is intentional because I'm working with two clients who are, I started with them to just kind of go through the process with them. So we're all on 2 days on, 2 days off right now. And um, and I think it really depends on your lifestyle too. So for me, I usually like to take it during the week and have the weekends off, because during the week is when I'm creative, when I'm taking client calls, when I'm working, when I'm nannying. So I like to be on those days, and then I like to have the weekends off. Um, but yeah, I think it's it changes, and like you said, everybody is different and everybody's different. So it really depends on, like, I think next week we're going to go to 3 days on, 3 days off starting on Monday. So today's an on day, tomorrow's an on day, Friday, Saturday are off days, and then next week it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on, then Fridays or Thursday, Friday, Saturday off. So
You got it down. I like
yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm the same way with the
I'm
weekends.
still
You know,
learning, but
during the week, it's I like during the week because it's a bit more structured, and then like Saturday, Sunday is more free flowing for me. And again, it's like whatever works for you. That's the way it works. And so I like that too. Is like we always say, another saying that we have is community is the active ingredient. And so it sounds like you're doing your journey with clients or friends or your colleagues, and it's kind of staying on that same journey together so you can reflect together. And then, is that what I'm
yeah,
hearing? So you're
yeah.
reflecting together, so kind of you're on this day and then you're off this day, and you're able to speak about it in a
Hmm.
group.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've actually started because I have started helping clients, with the microdose. So I'm leading them through it, but I'm doing it with them just because it's helpful for me to know, um, where they're at in their journey and what's coming up for me. A lot of the times is coming up for them. So it's just they're reflecting to me and I'll reflect back to them if it's helpful. Um, but yeah, some of them are friends, some of them are strictly just clients that have reached out to me and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in microdosing. Can you help me?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, why not? I have a lot of experience and it's something I'd love to help guide people through." So that's kind of, I'm just beginning that part of my journey. So
Well, you're becoming the walking billboard for other people, right? Like, be the change you wish to see in the world, and then other people are attracted to that, or it's attraction, not promotion, right? Which
right.
is that's a great feeling when people just come to you because you're doing the thing, right? And you're like the walking like billboard, or you're embodying the walk and doing talking the talk and walking the walk. So this has been amazing. And before we come to a close, are there any you described your anxieties or depressions, and giving it a shape and a color, and working through that process. And has the microdosing been able to really help in that process of yours? Instead of like, oh, I have crippling anxiety, what am I going to do? I just going to give it more anxiety, and I'm just going to hide under the covers, and there's not enough covers in the world to hide me under this. and you just fully accept it and allow it. And what's so has the, I guess, like the way to think about it is, um awareness and sunshine, right? It's like Thich Nhat Hanh, the old Zen Buddhist teacher would say, like, um awareness is like sunshine. When you shine it on something, it transforms, right?
Mhm.
So uh think of the sunshine as like mind's eye, the product, and you're shining it onto your um anxiety, right? We all have anxiety. We all get it. And it's just how we deal with it and respond to it is how we transform it. So
Mhm.
has that helped you, um, kind of navigate through, like, where you came up with that whole procedure on, like, I'm naming it, I'm friending it, we're going to dinner, like it's got this color and shape. Like, what's that like? Has the mushrooms helped you been able to
Yes.
really like fine tune that process?
So um, I think when we're in those moments of deep depression, deep anxiety, that it's really hard to actually like open up your toolbox and be like, okay, let me use these things because you're just so focused on like what's going on in your head. And so the mushrooms have really allowed me to actually be like, okay, I'm in this moment of anxiety. What is happening? Instead of being like, oh, I'm in this moment of anxiety and not even noticing it and just like spiraling into doing, things that aren't helpful, like grabbing alcohol or grabbing, other substances or the television or whatever it is that your vice is, it's really allowed me to be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling anxiety. Where is it coming from? Is it, is it an external thing? Is it an internal thing? And the thing with mushroom psilocybin is when you're working with them, they'll bring up things from the past, from childhood, from other lifetimes. So
Oh yeah.
that when I say like, okay, I'm feeling anxiety, what does it feel? It's in my chest. It's a black ball of goo. It's solid. It's sticky. Like it's not moving. Okay, when's the first time I remember feeling this? I was 5 and, blah, 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 blah brings me to that moment. And then I can go into that moment and heal it from there. So with a lot of my other training and whatnot, that's kind of where I got that process was from working with other coaches and being trained as a coach, a healer, or whatever you want to call it. So I brought that process into you know, now and when I'm working with the mushrooms, that's the easiest way for me to work through those anxieties or those, hiccups throughout the day where you feel off or you feel out of balance or you're like, like what's happening instead of yelling or,
I
like I
like
said,
that.
grabbing advice.
I like the
It's
reflection. I just kind of saw like this like octopus arms going like, give me the booze, give me the cigarettes, the Netflix, the sex, the gamble, all the stuff like outside of us, like, the big, that's the back, the extensions from the big black ball of goo. Like, that's how I think of it as well, as like this, like an exercise ball of like, it's black, it's goo, it's just in you. And like, um I like what you said about you can feel it, where is it? I mean, that's a very like EMDR kind of technique too, is like it's in there and it's like, how do I transform this into like fractals and blast it back out into the universe, right? I call those real-time downloads. With the real-time healing is what the microdosing allows us to be able to do. Like you talked a lot about, it brings up stuff from the past, past lives, childhood, things like that, which it really brings it to the surface. Where like macro dosing is like you're really blasting the psyche open. I call it the leaf blower versus the rake. Microdosing is more of the gradual rake on the psyche. So we get those real-time downloads while we can make that real-time healing in that moment. And if you're really introspective enough and you have that level of self-awareness that you have, which is, it's astonishing that you can really just accept it in that moment, right? Coming back to that present and naming it and then transforming it and
Mhm.
have that real time healing. Like, where did it come from? When did this first happen? Like, I remember the first time when I figured out my, kind of where my avoidant attachment or anxious attachment style came from was like, I was 5 years old and my parents left on vacation and I thought they were never coming back. And I was with my grandmother and I didn't know why they were leaving. And I went and climbed a tree. Used to climb trees when I was like from really little until I still climb trees, but I didn't come down for like 2 hours. But like in a psychedelic, it was a pretty heavy psychedelic journey. I was able to really go in, and I've done it with EMDR too, is like climb the tree as Big Brian and hug
Mhm.
him, be like,
Mhm.
"Dude, little dude, you're gonna be fine. Like everything's gonna be okay, right? Like I'm just gonna
Give
hold you." And
yourself what you needed then
yeah,
in
and
this.
I didn't, and I talked to my mom, which is why did you think that? I'm like, Mom, I was five. Like I
Yeah.
was I was 5 years old. Like you didn't do it on purpose, like, but
Even
like,
if we had the best childhoods ever, we're still gonna have trauma and
yeah,
stuff from it. So
more will be revealed, and that's that like gentle rake on the psyche, or just the chisel on the psychological bedrock, where that can like grind, chisel away, so we can plant some of those spiritual seeds in there for the future, and doing it in the present moment. So this was such an epic conversation, a testimonial conversation. So I appreciate that. And any like last, burning desires on the product or anything, or you know,
um, I mean, I think I've touched on the fact that I've shared it with tons of people and tons of friends, and I'm just like so grateful for you for bringing this into my life and me being able to share it with others, people that I love and care about, and just seeing it, help them in their lives. And so I just want to say, I'm grateful for you and I'm thankful, and it's it's really wonderful what you're doing. And so of course when you reached out, I was like, I would love to give a testimonial, you know,
cool.
on all of it. So whatever you need, I'm happy to share, and
Just
just
keep
want to
sharing. Yeah, keep
yep.
sharing the mycelial wisdom and be the walking example that embody, and hopefully just keep paying it forward. That's all we can ask for. So I feel like it's a job well done. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I'm definitely sharing, and